Hello, Checkmate here, and welcome to episode 5 of our Kerbal Space Program series. And in this episode, we are going to try to get a probe to the moon. I don't know if it'll be a landing or a flyby just yet, kind of winging it here. I wanted to talk about a couple of things first. In the last episode, I was talking about upgrading the launch pad to get more parts availability. But that's not the case. You have to upgrade the VAB, and that gives you up to 255 max supported parts. And that's a $250,000 Kerbal bucks. So that's off the table for now. But one other thing that I do want to do is I want to upgrade mission control. Now it's 75,000, but this will allow us to make maneuver nodes on our flight planning. And that's really important when you were talking about going out to other bodies and trying to get encounters with the moon and other planets. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Costs us a little money, but we've got to have it. The other thing we need to do, last episode we got up to 160 on our science, and we need that because I want to get this, not that one, the Airstream protective shells. There's a couple of different sizes in here, but I wanted to get those so that we can launch this probe without fighting it too much. So I'm going to go ahead and research these two, and we're down to 25 science, so there's really nothing else we can do right now. Now let's see what kind of ship we need. So I have this Delta V map, and I'll try to leave a link in the description below. It's one of these here. It shows you, it's not a good example because you can't really see it, but it shows you how much Delta V it takes to get to the different places in. But we need to get into an orbit around the moon. We're going to need at least 3,400 to get into Kerbal orbit. And then we need 860 to get to our moon intercept, and then another 310 to capture that orbit. So at a very bare minimum, we would need 4,570 Delta V to orbit the moon. Now I'm not going to be able to do this perfectly, so I'm going to add about 25% to that. So that gets us to about 5,700 Delta V. So let's see if we can build something to give us that much Delta V and get out to the moon. So we're using the Probo Octodyne Octo, and we're going to need comms for it, and we're going to need power for it, and we're going to need solar panels to keep the batteries charged. So I'm going to look at doing a couple of batteries, and I'm just going to do 2 solar panels because I've got to be mindful of my parts. We don't have 30 in them already. That's already 5 right there. And we still have to put an antenna on here. We'll use this high gain. This is a relay antenna. We only want one. I'll just put it down the side here like this. And when we get it out of the fairing, we can deploy it like this, and then we can control the probe with this. and send back data. I do want to send at least something. I want to, it's probably just going to be a temperature probe, but I just for the sake of sending a probe, we want to get some kind of science out of it. So let's just put a temperature probe on there. And maybe we can add more after we get the rocket built, but I want to make sure we can do this. I might have to rotate this that way. Let's do it like that, so that way the fairing can come up this way. Now we want to go here. I think that's a good size there. So I'm not going to build the fairing just yet, but we have it here now. And actually, I'd like to be able to decouple that. We don't have to do this, but I'm going to put it there in case if we get short on our parts count, we can get rid of that. But for now, let's do it like this. Well, that's not going to work either because we've got to have. I don't need that here yet. We got to have propulsion for this thing. So let's just stick a tank on here, and that is the smallest engine we've got. So we could use this to get our orbit capture. Okay, so we're good on our capture. For now, I'm going to turn this fuel down to 0. Because I don't want that number to be part of my calculation while I'm building this. So if we have our capture already, that means we need do a little quick math. 3400 plus 860 to get our encounter. So we need 5300 on this next 2 stages. So let's get a upper stage, and let's just start with 3, see what that gets us. Actually, we can probably do 5. Let's do 5. I'm up to 17 parts there. It's not terrible. And now we have these radial decouplers here. I'm going to take 2 of those and put us 2 thumpers on here. So we need a lot more. Let's put 2 more on. Let's see. So we got the top and bottom, then they would separate, and you got the left and right, and they would separate. And then you have your 3rd stage. So this does not seem to be nearly enough. That gives us 45. We're shooting for about 53. So I wonder if we could do 6 of these. How many parts is this? We're at 25. I still need nose cones. Well then. our fairing go? Oh, I've got it under there. So we're running us short on parts limit. So what if we did one panel, one battery? Really like to have nose cones on all these. Well, I'm just looking if we reduce our Delta V budget where we're at right now, that would give us 10% more than we need in theory. Now I wonder if I can stage this a little bit differently. So I'm thinking if we run 4 on the first stage and separate 4 off and then run 2, maybe that will work. We could maybe get there with this, but I would like to try to get me a little more out of here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these from symmetry, so that way I can make individual, because I put them on as a group so they would all be lined up properly, but now I want to remove them from the symmetry so we can move them around in the staging. We also have to remove the couplings. And if you don't see this, you have to go into settings and turn on advanced tweakables, and then that will let you do this. So I'm going to leave this top and bottom one for my second stage, so I'm going to move those 2 up. So move this one up, and the top one. So top and bottom will be my second stage. So I need to move the top and bottom coupling up. Okay, that got us up to 5,071. So that will work. We have enough Delta V at least. I think I'm going to move this fairing down to here so that so this is first stage, and then we'll blow those 4 off, and then the second stage we'll have 2, and then when we blow those 2, we'll kick on our third stage. All these solid rocket boosters will be out of the way, so we'll go ahead and blow the fairing at that point, because I want to get that solar panel exposed as soon as possible. Now I want to look at our parts, because we're sitting at 27 of 30. I would want to at least do 2 nose cones on the upper stage ones. That's going to be, let's see which 2 is that. Okay, so we want a nose cone here. And here. So once we get up into more atmosphere, we'll have at least some aerodynamics. It's not ideal. We have one room for 1 part left, and I was just thinking I probably need to add a reaction wheel. So otherwise we don't really have any control. This third stage we do have the gimbaled engine. Yeah, that's a swivel, so we do have that, but first couple of stages we don't have any other than this small control reaction wheel that's in this. So I think this is all we're going to be able to do. Let's see if we can get this fairing. Build fairing. Maybe I can build it. Hope it's going to let me. I'm hoping all this stuff isn't in the way. We got it. This is really strange. Clamshell deploy. I usually just go with as many sides as it will have. Give it a decent ejection force so pieces don't get hung up. Now, I don't know what happened to our Delta V. It just dropped. Did all that fairing just mess up my Delta V that bad? No, I've got this engine on the wrong. I moved this one down or something. It's supposed to be up here. I don't know how that got moved. Okay, let's double check it one more time and then we'll just give it a launch and see how it flies. So our first stage should be these 4 that's on the left and the right. Okay. And then those 4 couplings should be the ones that go. And the top and bottom ones kick on. Then those will detach and this bottom one kicks in. And then when that's finished, we should be at the moon encounter by this point, and we can blow that one along with the fairing and all, and we'll have just this engine here, which we need to turn it back up. Well, actually we need to just put the fuel back in here. Okay, so we need 310 Delta V to capture an orbit around the moon, and we have double that. So that's the smallest tank I had, I believe. So, and I don't have any smaller engines yet. You can get some really small, efficient engines also. But all right, this thing may fly apart on the launch pad, but it's a probe, so we'll give it a shot. Lunar probe launcher 1. And one other thing, I want to look at the thrust. We're good thrust here, we're good here. Third stage is good. Well, I think as long as we can steer it, it should fly. So let's go give it a whirl. I hope this works. Without having those nose cones, it kind of concerns me. But 3, 2, 1, blast off. Let's see if we can steer this thing. Not really. Well, a little bit. It's kind of spinning a little. Probably has something to do with the aerodynamics, making it spin like that. Let's see if we can get this thing oriented. I need to tilt over some more. Oops. The controls are backwards now because I got it tilted the wrong way. So we're at about a 45-degree angle. Okay, there we go. Let's see if we can get this heading back on 90. Let's see if I can spin this a little bit. There we go. Alright, I'm going to cut my engines for now because we're way up in the air. We do need to get an orbit. You can see now I can actually create a maneuver here. It's going to take 900 delta V, so we'll have just enough left to sling out to the moon, I believe. This burn is coming up in 4 minutes. It's going to be a 30-second burn. We have to keep it right on this blue marker here. So if we line up on this is our maneuver node. And eventually we'll have pilots. We'll have one unlocked here. You click on that and it will just put you on your maneuver node. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and warp to the maneuver. It should stop us about a minute before. Yeah. And this is gonna be a long burn, 30-second burn. I'm gonna go ahead and bring it on in a little closer here. Make sure we're on our maneuver node. Now actually, I gotta go. What's happening? I just missed my mark. As we get closer in, I'll start scaling down this throttle. Because I don't want to do any more than I need to at this point just to get into orbit. Okay. that's that. We have 982 delta V to get us out to the moon. And we need 860 according to the map. So I think we can do something here. So let's start looking at the moon. I'm going to set it as a target. And what I want to do, I'm going to see if we start burning here at our periapsis. See if we can put a maneuver node here and burn prograde. I don't have an encounter there, but what if we were to go backwards? A little more prograde. Just trying to get an encounter. Now this is target position at closest approach. Now, what's my... Okay, I'm missing it because my inclination is off. What's my inclination? Okay, I'm 4.5 degrees. So, that's causing a problem. Oh, that's the wrong way. So we need to fix that. We got an encounter here. See how close we can get. I never know which way to go, if I should be anti-normal or normal. There's some pretty close encounter there. So we get a little bit closer. That's 52,000. That's 52 kilometers. We're using 761 delta V. It isn't terrible. Let's shoot for that. About 35,000 kilometers. Using 760 delta V out of our 982 that we have available. We may even be able to get the capture with that, honestly, with what's left. But we'll try it. Now if we look at this bar, yeah, we can do the full burn on this stage, so we don't have to separate stages any. But I do need to look at this. We need to get this antenna deployed before we get too far out there, or we won't be able to control this thing. And I am going to spin this towards the sun. We only have the one panel, but that should be, Yes, well, it's 206, 207, so it's going back up. Okay, in 9 minutes we'll do this burn. It's a 19-second burn, and we got to be on this maneuver node. So I guess we just got rid of our solar panel. So that's about the direction we want to be going. I can spin this and get that solar panel back in the sunlight there a little bit. Only having the one solar panel, I really got to be careful with that. So, all right, I like that. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the next marker. And we'll check our alignment on our maneuver node, still good. I'm actually going to do this burn from the map mode, because I prefer to do it from there if I can, just so I can watch my trajectory. I can dial it in here. Do our burn. It's a 17-second burn. You'll see this brown line will start coming in here. And I just missed it. Okay, so I want to go retrograde a little. We can pull it back out. It came in fast because we just have that thruster. I had it at full throttle, or at full thrust. I could have turned it down and had a little bit better control. In fact, let's do that. Let's turn this thrust down. That'll give me a little better control. Okay, I can live with that. So we'll come in at 43,000 kilometer altitude. We're in the dark side of the Earth, or Kerbal at the moment, so I can actually go ahead and just warp to here. And we are now in this sphere of influence of the moon. And I want to get my solar panel. Our charge is dead. Shoot. Okay, all we're getting is a flyby, it looks like. That battery died. In that flight out here, the battery died, so. So really, we're going to do this again. This panel probably needs to be on this back here, because we're going to be flying towards the moon. The sun's probably going to be behind us. Well, let's do a little time warp here and see if we get positioned somewhere that would give us some more exposure. Probably not, because I don't think we're going to be getting any more exposure. Yeah, zero charge. Well, there's the moon, but I don't think this really counts as a probe flyby. I mean, technically we've done it, but it's not really in the spirit of what I was aiming to do. I wanted to be able to communicate with this satellite around the moon. And with no power, we can't steer it, we can't adjust I can't even give it any throttle, no burn or anything. So I think we're going to have to abandon this one and do it again. But let's just see, our closest approach is somewhere around here, I think. Sucks we're on the dark side. Which we would be in well, let's see, would we? No, Kerbin is here, so we would have comms right here still. So we would just have to do our burn here, before we lose our comm link. Because once we get around this side of the moon, we would have no comm link. But anyway, I think we're calling this a failed mission. Let's go back to the Space Center and rethink this. So power was the problem. Everything else, we was able to get it done. But this probe, we've either got to do more batteries, which we don't have any parts. So this is going to have to go here, I think. Because all we need is a little power, and then we can steer this thing. Now this was spinning on me, which was fine. I think we're going to just allow it to spin like it wants to do until I get to this next stage, get rid of these solid boosters, and then we will reorient our direction, our heading. Have really got to get more parts because this is sort of like a poor man's rocket here. But anyway, let's take off. I'm gonna go ahead and start trying to lean over a little bit. Let's see if I can turn this back around without killing ourselves. I want to get this back to the 90-degree mark. But I just missed it. Let's cut these engines because we're way up in the air now. Alright, so there's my 90 degree. Okay, there we go. Close enough. Let's get this thing in orbit, hopefully. Yeah, we're not going to be in a circular orbit. Well, it's sloppy, but let's just go ahead and get that, and then I can correct this inclination, I think, in fact. Yeah, we'll try to fix that after we get in orbit. So I need to get onto my maneuver node. And we burn in 50 seconds. Speed up just a little bit. This will be a 45-second burn. And mark. That's going to take about 1200. We'll just have to see how much this burn is going to cost us to correct this inclination here. Alright. Let's get rid of the maneuver. And I believe the best place to adjust your inclination, oh, didn't mean to do that, is you have ascending nodes and descending nodes. It's about center of your orbit. So if I add a maneuver here, what does that do? It pulls it up some. If I do to the apoapsis, we'll see what happens. know. Actually, I think we want to do it here where it crosses this. Let's see what happens if we do it here. There we go. Watching this inclination down here. That gets us 3, 2, 1. Okay, we just overshot it a little bit there. .9. 0.9 looks like it's going to be close we can get it. Now what does that do to our... Because our apoapsis is way out here, but we're in a more aligned orbit this way. Now that's going to be 1,000-meter burn. Ooh. We're not going to be able to do that. We'll spend a little bit, get it a little better, and see if we can pick up an encounter. And if not, then I'll call it and try again. Yeah, I wish that first one would have worked, that first attempt, because we did much better on our first try than we did this one. Alright, we're looking at a 16-second burn here. I'm just pulling this inclination back into alignment. Alright, that's all I'm going to do. Let's see if that helped get an orbit. Or an encounter, rather. So we can spend 800 and get an encounter. I'm just dialing it back. See the least amount of fuel. All right, let's focus view. We're just going to play with the timing. We've got 22 minutes until this burn. Because remember, we don't have to do an orbit, we just have to get a flyby. So I would like to do an orbit, but a flyby also works as long as the probe is live. See that right there does it. It's 893 meters per second, which we have. We have enough here to do this, as long as the battery don't die on us. So the sun is this time the sun is the other direction. Let's look at ourselves here. If we line up on this burn, I think what I need to do, I'll do the burn and then I'll position this where it's looking at the sun before we do our fast forward. And I'll probably have to do some leapfrog. Just go forward, warp forward a little bit, see if we get it, see if we're still good, and warp forward a little more. Just have to limp along because we don't have much battery to play with. So let's fast forward to our burn. This will be a 13-second burn. I think I'm going to make it a much longer burn, because I want to be able to, I don't want to have to do a correction burn if I miss it. And burn. Now we'll have to separate mid-burn here. Alright, we're still on our mark. Got much better control now. Okay. Alright, we're going to do just little burns here. I'm going to line this back up on my maneuver node. Trying to get down around 30 or so there. Alright. So we have us a moon encounter now. Now let's look at how do we need to point this thing, because we're on the dark side at the moment. I'm going to time warp a little. Okay, so if we point this way the whole time that we're warping, I have full charge here, so let's just warp a little bit. And we're just going to watch this charge every now and then. Still good. Just having to babysit this one a little bit. But I think we're going to get it. We're still good. Let's get up a little bit. Wait. Alright, I'm going to take a chance and just warp to here. Alright, that battery's still good. Our signal's getting low, but we should still be good on signal. Just want to make sure we're still pointing in the right direction here. Yep. Alright, I'm going to warp ahead to the encounter. And we still have good charge. And we have our moon encounter, and we have some electric charge. Okay. Now, we were able to salvage this mission after all, it looks like. In fact, we could probably maybe get a crewed orbit here. Maybe. Can we get an orbit? I don't know. It'd be a big one. But that's an orbit. We have just enough. Let's try this one more way here. So we want to burn retrograde to pull this in. So we lose it there. And just there we pulled it in. 203 meters per second with a little bit to play with. So let's do this. Let's put it in orbit. I want to get up in here and transmit some science. Actually, we can go ahead and do that from where we're at, because that's going to take battery for that. So let's get some moon science. Where is it? Transmit 6.7 science. That antenna, did that antenna deploy itself? Okay, I almost screwed up there. I should have deployed that antenna as soon as we blew our fairing. But anyway, let's get this orbit. And I'll call that a successful mission. And there's the moon. I'm looking at it. guess we can transmit again. Yeah, we can actually do both. Get a little bit of meaningful science here. Alright, we'll fast forward a little bit and we'll put this thing in orbit just to just for giggles. Burn. This is what we're watching. Alright, we got it. Barely. But we got ourselves in orbit. Now I want to reorient this to the sun. That way it'll always be pointing where it needs to recharge itself. Alright. We did it. We have put a probe in orbit around the moon. So that opens up possibilities for crew missions to the moon. We can land on the moon, but we will probably do a flyby first with a crew. Well, it's going to just be one person because I don't have the 3-person command modules. But I think that's a win right there. It's kind of difficult, but we got it done. So anyway, thanks for hanging in here with me this long. All my videos, I guess, are going to be hour-long videos because I just can't seem to get them any quicker. But next episode, we'll try to get some Kerbals into space around the moon and start grinding out a good bit of science. So anyway, if you want to keep following this series, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.